Endurance Junkie Podcast, episode 45. Hey Junkie, what's up? Welcome to a new week of the Endurance Junkie Podcast, the show where I will be interviewing some of the fastest, smartest and most inspiring people active in the endurance world today. Ollie Matthews is a fully qualified personal trainer with over 8 years experience working with both clients online and in selected gyms in the UK, tailoring fitness plans for their individual goals and needs with great success. He's a massive believer that we can achieve optimum health through nutrition, which will then transfer to increasing the performance all around without fail. Ollie, thanks for taking the time to chat here today. Now, for those of us who don't know you, can you start off by telling us a bit about yourself and your own sporting background?
So basically, I've been coaching for about 10 years now. Started off full time, and then it was going into a job and doing it as well. And now back, passionate about it, full time again, making sure I can pay the bills. But before that, I was just the fat kid. So it was running to the end of the drive was an issue. So if I didn't have my inhaler, I wasn't going to get there. I was scared of the gym, but I'd been brought up in a running and athletics background. So my uncle organises a lot of races for the Norwich Athletics Club, and he also coaches there as well. Always used to run marathons and long distance. My sister Ellie she's been county champion running national races 5, 10K and 10 miles, and she's done the London Marathon as well, and some other marathons. So I'd been interested in athletics and sports. However, the closest I seemed to get was playing FIFA on the PlayStation, and even back in the day, Daley Thompson Decathlon, being old school on the Commodore.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I needed to make a change, and I got a little bit addicted to trying to push my body to its limits, in a good sort of addiction way. I went from over 17 stone and absolutely no muscle on me, competing in the bodybuilding stage. I'd say I was roughly about 10.5 stone. So yes, I dieted down a little bit before then and lost about 3 stone in, I think it was 12 weeks, with the British Natural Bodybuilding Federation as a junior. And competed in a few more times in various shows and federations. But my main passion has always been nutrition and how it can improve health, how it can improve performance. And just there's so many different illnesses and so many different you've got things like arthritis that can be cured by nutrition. You've got other sort of autoimmune diseases, and there's so many ailments that can be cured by nutrition. I didn't want to just get people in shape, I wanted to get them feeling real good and also smashing their personal bests over and over. So basically from there, been working with various athletes over the past few years. It's actually become apparent that to push my body another level, I need to actually open my eyes and commit to what I've been brought up in, bring the two worlds together, really push it now with performance and use the nutrition knowledge developed over the years to make sure we get instant results. And it's showing at the moment with some of the pro triathletes I'm working with. So.
All right, excellent. Now, what's actually triggered you to get off the couch and then start bodybuilding? If you're coming from a family that's been involved in running, how did you get involved in bodybuilding?
I was saying this the other day, and I think it was a rebellious sort of action. It was somebody, my uncle was why do you want to go in bodybuilding? It's or at the time it was I didn't want to do what everyone else wanted. I wanted to be different and push myself in a different way. And that's definitely a different way of pushing yourself. However, it's not necessarily the healthiest way when it comes to dieting so much, depleting so much, and you're such a low level of body fat. It's not a natural thing for the body to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, all right. And I guess that all the nutrition knowledge that you have now is comes from that period in your life when you were bodybuilding.
Exactly. I've always wanted my nutrition because I've had really bad gut health beforehand, and it's just a case of so many different intolerances that I've just researched so much with gut health and how I can make people feel better and how I make myself feel better. That's what now has taken me away from bodybuilding as such, because there's so much like negativity when it comes to diets, and there's so much like poor health when it comes to it, and it's just all a case of like, yeah, we're going to go high protein, and that's what seems to have taken me away from it. So it's like I want to be making sure I'm completely healthy with everyone and making sure performance is key.
Yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, or bodybuilding sort of has a bit of a bad rep as well with doping and, you know, artificial ways of growing muscle. What's your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, so basically, if you're in a sport where a rule that says don't take this, don't take that, don't take it, it's that simple, it's cheating. However, in bodybuilding, there are federations that have drug testing, and there's people that go to do those federations and do those shows. So they're the natural shows. So they'll have like urine tests, they'll have lie detector tests. One of my best friends is actually a natural pro, and the amount of testing that he has to do, there's no way they're on anything. However, certain federations, they won't promote the use of like anabolic steroids, but they won't test. Certain federations will say you can't look like you've taken anything, but they won't test. So they're a bit more controversial. So the ones that don't test, even though they're not promoting the use of anabolic steroids, then there's so many people on stage that have got it inside of them. People are trying to compete on an even playing field. So if other people are taking them in there and it's not against the rules to take them, then what in theory is wrong with them taking them for that specific sport? I mean, you wouldn't run against Usain Bolt in flip-flops, so why, like, they're on stage in a show where it's not against the rules to take them. However, if you're in a sport, as I say, that say don't take it, then seriously, why cheat? You're only cheating yourself. You're cheating other people as well, like with regards to breaking the rules. And if you break a record, you're not really breaking it because you've got assistance. So they're basically what my thoughts are on there. Put in work in the gym, put in work in the training, put in work in all your sessions and the kitchen as well. Another thing that comes around is that people then think they haven't got to put in so much effort. There's like some magic pill that's going to make them be really, really big and grow muscle, but they undermine all the actual work in the gym that you have to do, and you have to be consistent, you have to train hard, you have to work hard, and you have to eat right. So it's not a case like, for example, in cycling where there's a lot of money involved and where, you know, doping has always been present and a reason for cheating. It's not the case like in bodybuilding. In bodybuilding, there's very little money. I mean, if you're a pro bodybuilder and you're on the Mr. Olympia stage, chances are with sponsors, like potentially they're going to be doubling what you get, and there's big money there. But that's at the top of the top. I mean, in Britain, we've got the current Mr. Olympia, like under 212 pound, James Lewis. And apart from that, if you look at any other Brits that are up on the pro stage, then they're not making. A lot of them have to do their personal training on the side to actually do it. And you look at the amount of money that people pay for steroids, it's like, why are you paying that much? It's ridiculous. Like, you're putting that in your body, you're damaging your health, and you're spending half your wages on it. How can you live your life and actually have a whole life and have a family when you're spending that much money? With other sports, yes, there's going to be a hell of a lot more money when we see the cycling side of things. There's a lot more sponsors in there involved, isn't there? So,
yeah, I think that's the main reason why there's so many cheats there. Because you give it a go and you see how far you get. You might get a good contract until you get busted, and at least you made a bit of a fortune for yourself.
Exactly, but even like if they get busted, just like admit it as well. Like, that's so many people. Then they're like, "Oh, it's in the food I ate, and I didn't know I was eating it." It's like, you're a grown man, you're a grown adult. It's like, it's your responsibility to check certain foods. It's your responsibility to check supplements and make sure they're like IOC tested and they're all meeting the guidelines. So,
all right, cool. The plans that you make as a personal trainer, it's not designed for bodybuilders, but it's I guess it's for everybody who just wants to leading a healthier lifestyle. Can you tell us a bit about the philosophy behind your plans?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, like with regards to like gut health, and basically it's like looking at health from the inside out. So because of where I'm with the business, and I'm still taking on clients who are like one-to-one and just wanting to feel really great. However, when it comes to bodybuilders, I'm only working with a very like minor, like a small number of bodybuilders at the moment, and it's more athletes which are getting the most benefits at the moment. So it's sort of generalizing here. As we've said about with bodybuilding, one of the reasons I'm not really wanting to work with them is it really healthy to diet down, dehydrate, manipulate your salts and water over and over again? As I said, getting to that ridiculously low body fat levels, putting strain on the body, potentially over dieting, taking months to then kickstart your body again and kickstart all your hormones to make yourself healthy, just to go for a look where you look your strongest and you're the weakest. But I've found a lot of the times they're not really worried about what's going on inside. So when we're looking at the gut, and where I'm actually taking my philosophy is like people with digestive issues, bloating, thyroid issues, arthritis, there's things like plantar fasciitis. It seems to come up a lot of times when it comes to runners, and a lot of those things, fibromyalgia, depression, they're down to like inflammation in the gut. So if you can control how your gut feels, and from nutrition, taking out foods that people are intolerant to, foods that really don't like bide well with certain people. Now, we could go on to say certain foods are really bad, but every person is individual in how they react to a food. So another thing I've noticed with regards to the athletes and their guts, like if they've come from a real big season, a hard season, and say they've done a few Ironman events, maybe some half Ironmans, and however many triathlons they've done, it's apparent that they haven't recovered well. So things like under eating seems to become quite apparent. Not like that they're meaning to, it's just knowing they need to eat so much. So taking it from square one with the clients and making sure I'll work with them in the off season as well as like in the competitive season to make sure we know what that individual wants. So basically what we're wanting to do is get a client to outperform all their previous results and feel great, sleep much better, have much better skin, have much better hair, better digestion, more energy, more strength and endurance along with the speed. So,
all right. Now, when I think of nutrition, especially for endurance athletes, I think there's a lot of talk going on the web about 3 diets, in my opinion, which is paleo, and then low carb, high fat, and then gluten free. What are your thoughts on these? Is there any one that's better than the other, or is it again something that you have to check with each individual?
Again, I mean, some people can tolerate gluten more than others. However, like when it comes to like the paleo diet, that's taken out of context so much. I mean, I advise clients to eat single ingredient foods, whole foods, foods that aren't processed, purely because processing changes the way that the body recognizes the food we put in our mouths. It doesn't see it as food necessarily. It can't digest it as well as it could a good single ingredient food. So you see loads of like cookbooks, a paleo cookbook, and it's like paleo is based on how our ancestors ate, like however many thousands of years ago. Would they really make a paleo brownie? And did they really have the items to actually make that sort of stuff and the utensils? So it's like it seems to have gotten way out of hand, and it's just like eating single ingredient foods, and they're what's going to actually make the difference. So real foods, so meat, veg, fruits, and a lot of times I've noticed that the craze being paleo is low carb. Yes, there's a lot of fibrous carbs, but we still need to have the starchy carbs in there. So people will cut out things like potatoes and things, and it's like still get the food in there. It's the same as when you go to the low carb, high fat diets and things. It's like we're going for performance, and as I mentioned like a second ago, so many athletes seem to be under eating, and a lot of times I find with women, purely because of the way the media has been, that low carbs they feel is a way forward. That's not me trying to like sound sexist or anything like that, but like when you look at the way women's magazines have been brought up since they're like 10, 11, low fat, low carbs and things like that, you're going to burn so many calories when doing your training. If you're training at a hard level, you need to have the carbs to fuel that in there. So are fats really going to fuel you as well as carbs are going to do? Carbs are going to give you the energy that doesn't need to be converted and put less stress on the body to actually fuel your sessions. They're also going to promote like a positive hormonal status, a little bit like fat will do. But if you go low carb for too long, there's going to be certain things like damage to your hormones, like your thyroid hormones, things like insulin resistance. And some people as well find it hard to sleep on low carbs, purely because of the hormone like a serotonin release, which is going to help you relax. Carbs are going to help lower your like stress hormones like cortisol, so that's going to help you relax in the evenings. So I actually promote a lot of carbs in the evening to my clients. A lot of them will have things like oat cakes, oats, rice and buckwheat porridge and things like that before bed, with some protein as well. But you mentioned gluten-free as well, didn't you? Yeah. So like with the gluten-free, there's an article on my blog on the website with regards to like gluten-free and athletes. I believe it's about sort of 70 or 80% of people. I can't remember the exact number on this. It's pretty high like that, who are gluten sensitive. So, and only about 5 or 10% are actually intolerant to gluten. So like celiac and things like that. However, I believe like if you look in supermarkets now and you look at the ingredients in certain things marketed as gluten-free, it's basically for marketing. Every supermarket's got a gluten-free aisle, and you look at like what's been taken out and replaced. There's so many chemicals, there's so many unnatural food ingredients put in these gluten-free items to make them taste good. It's like that food doesn't really even go off. Like we've had gluten-free bread in the house for about 2 weeks, and it's still as dry as it was when it started. But it's not gone off, or it's not gone moldy or anything like that. So is your body really going to be able to break that down with the digestive enzymes and things? So I believe like, yes, those diets can be all right if they're done well, but that depends on the individual and how they tolerate things. Why go completely 100% gluten-free if you can tolerate gluten well? So, and the same with like paleo is like, yes, just get the nutrients, just get single ingredient foods, just get a varied diet of fruit and veg and plenty of like meats and carbs in there. So
what about like superfoods, like the avocado, coconut oil, beetroot juice, and several others? Are these genuine miracle foods, or is that also hype?
I'm gonna like say with marketing side of things, so pretty big on hype there. Basically, every single item food, every piece of food out there could be super, even when it comes to like some chocolate. However, every single item food could potentially be what we'd say is kryptonite to an individual. So you could react badly to a certain food. I believe that superfood is not actually regulated. So there's not any actual specific criteria for you to label as a superfood. And I actually heard in Europe that the marketing is not actually allowed on the packaging to say it's a superfood. And correct me if I'm wrong now.
I've never seen that in a supermarket before.
So people buy into it. But I think the actual guidelines is something like, if you look on Wikipedia, it's like a food that's high in nutrients and phytochemicals, which basically is meaning it's going to be high in colour and very high in antioxidants. And when it comes to what we mentioned with the paleo stuff and the processing, they're even actually processing superfoods now. So if a food is so super, why does it need to be processed? Like, you're going to mess with the molecules, you'll stop the body from recognising it as real food. So I don't actually believe in genuine miracle foods, but if you have loads of avocados and the rest of your food is processed, you've got a load of rubbish in there, that avocado isn't going to be so...
That's not going to make the difference, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be good, like if you have a good overall diet. but it's not going to outdo the negatives of the other food. So,
okay. What are the most common nutritional mistakes that you see in endurance athletes?
What I'll do with clients is get a food diary, and as I said earlier, like so many are under eating. Like if you add it up, like when you look at like how many calories people are burning and during their sessions, going on like 4.5 hour bike rides, 2-3 hour bike rides, whatever, they're burning thousands of calories. And then you look at their food diary and people are like, yeah, I'm eating a lot, I'm eating healthy, and then it's only like 2,500, 3,000 calories. And that's what I would usually say to someone roughly to start on, depending on what their background is, like if they're not doing the amount of training. So very common that they're not eating enough, and also not fueling for performance and recovery. Like some of the athletes that I've had, they're like, yeah, I'm recovering, I'm doing well, and then after like a month or two of working together, they're like, wow, I didn't realize I needed to eat so much, but I've never recovered so well. And also, when people pick the wrong foods after they think they're then going to eat more, they then feel bloated. So having too much fiber near, like if they're training 2-3 times a day, having too much fiber between sessions, and then feel bloated when they go on a run and things like that. So also common mistakes, people go for convenience. Like they'll go for what looks healthy and go out and then have a meal or pick something from the supermarket which is already made, which looks healthy, which is all good and well, but if you want 100% performance, you need to take time to prepare. So a common mistake I would say is also making sure you've got the time. So if you're going to make food all at once, like say there's 2 hours on a Sunday where you've got time to prepare the food, cook in bulk and freeze it. It's then going to stop you having to go for convenience side of things.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on the subject that if you want to follow then a proper nutrition, that you're going to have to take a lot of time to, to do the research and to find the good recipes and to get the ingredients and then cook it. So it's I think that's a problem for a lot of people. Just a time constraint.
Exactly. I think I put a post on tonight actually. Literally, I just uploaded it about an hour ago about like how many different ways to cook beef. Because if I say to someone, there's say 150 grams of beef in your nutrition plan, then it's like, well, why don't you add chopped tomatoes? Because I'll put veg and salad on there, add some mushrooms, add some onions, and make a bolognese. It's like that beef, like, it can be cooked in so many different ways. Add spices and make a burger, make a chili, make like if you've got potatoes in there as well. Why don't you make something like a shepherd's pie or something like that? And just a little bit of like thinking outside the box. At the end of the day, there's so much focus gone on to things, and there was another thing I mentioned on Twitter the other day, that triathlon is more than 3 disciplines. Like in reality, like nutrition is the 4th discipline of triathlon, and it goes for other sports as well. It's like it's the whole part of the training plan. You spend so much money on coaches, and you spend so much money on going to your sessions, on equipment, on putting the time and effort into your training. Then nutrition is part of the training as well. So
yeah, that's definitely something that people don't take into account. And just looking back at my own career, as you might call it, you do spend some money on going to training camps and buying the newest kit. But if you're preparing for a race and you know there's going to be some type of gel there that's going to be offered to you during the race, why not train with it? In your training. But you don't want to fork out the money because it's a lot of money to buy the gels and train with it, but it's definitely important.
Exactly, and like people spend hundreds on a coach and they get their individualized training plan, but it's a recurring theme as well that a lot of the coaches don't seem to offer in-depth nutrition, or even some of them don't even necessarily promote the in-depth nutrition to their clients, when that's going to make their training plans even better.
Yeah. Do you also change the nutrition plan depending on the type of training that your clients are doing? Like, for example, somebody who's in a base block of training, would he eat differently than somebody who's doing a focusing or block that's focused on developing strength or speed?
Yeah, so basically, like, if you're training more, then you're going to have the nutrition to match it. Same with like if you're training a little lower volume, you fuel for that amount of training you're doing. So say someone's a pro athlete and they're training 20, 30, maybe more hours a week, obviously it's their job. So they're going to have a massive amount of calories compared to someone who's got a regular 9 to 5 job, trains 5 to 10 hours a week. But it's also looking at the output and the expenditure that the body has over sessions. So if you think about it, a lot of volume stuff is going to require higher calories because the body is going to be under more stress for a longer period. However, then people think that if they're doing like strength stuff, I mean, yes, with volume, it's going to recover a little faster than the strength side of things. But when strength sessions, you're not going to burn as many calories during the actual efforts and like during the actual session, but you're going to need a much higher amount of calories. The body's got to do more recovering like after the session as well. So it's all like swings and roundabouts. Yes, you're going to need more at certain points during the day, depending on what training you're doing, but you're still going to need the right amount to fuel it. So a lot of times with strength sessions, what I would tend to focus on less in like intra-session nutrition, and more intra-session nutrition in the volume ones, and get the nutrition like sorted ready for recovery.
Yeah.
So.
What about the off season? I think it's pretty common for everybody to, when they're in the off season, training volume is pretty low. Yet people seem to continue eating like they had been during training. So there's definitely some weight gain there. Do you think that's all right, or do you try to maintain a more or less equal weight during the season and an off season?
Well, I would like an athlete to make sure like they're not so stringent on a nutrition plan, like if they're having a little bit of downtime in the off season. But the off season is where the preparation is done for that race season. If you've got like say 3 weeks off after the end of the season, a month off after the end of the season, where you're literally doing nothing, like you're going to eat a little bit less. However, then like most athletes are then going to then build up their training in that off season, really focus on their training, and that's where you've got the opportunity to lose that extra bit of fat. Like one of the guys I'm working with, Joe Skipper, he's now lost, I think it's like, he lost a kilo from Ironman UK to Barcelona. And that's, I believe, like it works out, you might be able to tell me different, or something like a pound is worth 4 seconds over a mile in a run. And like now his performance has actually increased even better. He's now dropped another like 2 kilos since Ironman Barcelona. And he's now performing, I believe, like it's 7% higher on the bike. He's not run lower than a 2 hour 50 marathon at the end of an Ironman. So now his off season, he's eating even more, and he's so focused on the nutrition, we're still dropping fat, and it's going to be ridiculous when it comes to next year. So,
all right, well, that's pretty interesting. All right, how can people get in touch with you, Ollie?
Well, first off, there's the website. So it's bodycatchers.com. On Twitter, it's OJAYPT. Facebook, just searching Ollie Matthews. I've got my profile on there, or Body Catchers. It's actually online personal training with Ollie Matthews. But if you just search Body Catchers, there's no one else on Facebook like with the business page on there. Or just get in contact via email. So Ollie, OLLIE @bodycatchers.com.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks very much for your time, Ollie. I think this has been pretty interesting. A lot of good advice there for the endurance junkies out there. Anything else you want to plug? Now's your chance.
Not really like much that I want to plug. I mean, just thanking the clients for the support they're giving me. Just basically from amateur all the way to pro athletes. So still got a few spots left to work with nutrition for people wanting to get good results. Not just invest in their performance, but also their health. And also, I do find, as I said earlier, that better results are obtained when we work together in the off season. Not just like, I've got 6 weeks until this event, I need to really boost my performance, because it is a individualized and tailored like process. So yeah, get in touch if you want to know some more.
All right, cool. Well, I'll definitely put all the links in the show notes pages so people can easily get in touch with you. All right, thanks very much for your time, Ollie. Much appreciated.
Take care.
Bye-bye.